Hello, everyone. Student forecaster Stephen Boyle for Northeast Weather Center. It's happy Thursday, everybody. I hope you all are enjoying the final parts of your week, getting ready for the end of the week here. Not a lot going on other than a system that is affecting portions of the South today. Um, Again, some severe weather into South Florida, some snow into portions of North Carolina and Virginia. Kind of some interesting stuff going on into those regions. We'll show you the snowfall forecast being put out here by some of the weather offices. So let's look at that. So again, here is what they're showing. Again, you can see possibly some areas picking up close to 4 inches of snow into some areas. Generally a good 1 to 3 with, again, like I said, possibly some 4-inch amounts. So we'll see about that. And again, maybe a little bit of ice into a few scattered locations in here and then in here. But for the most part, not seeing a lot in the way of ice. It's going to be more snow than anything. If you do see wintry precip. And again, here is the snowfall forecast. And again, some of these areas could be talking over an inch of snow possibly, or at least a half-inch of snow with some of these areas down in here, like I said, possibly seeing close to 3 inches. So we'll have to sort of see what happens with that. Especially on the higher peaks, they could obviously see much more than that as well. So be watching out for that. There's also a tornado watch into portions of southern Florida. Again, this was actually supposed to be confined to practically the whole state of Florida, but we had some clouds that kind of entered into these areas, which kept the severe weather levels down. But definitely these areas talking about some pretty serious stuff. Some tornado warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings. I also want to mention, I think it's worth mentioning, if you live in the Northeast today, be very careful. I mean, I was coming home from school today, and there was a fire that was breaking out in a field over by where I live. So be very careful. I mean, very dry conditions out there, very strong winds. I mean, we're getting a very strong northwesterly flow. This is that northwesterly flow is what's helping produce these snows into portions of the Smokies. So, that is again something that we're watching. Here is our upcoming system that may bring a little bit of rain shower activity into some areas. But look at this intense precip. This is very heavy rain. Even if it's not snow, and into some of these areas, if it is snow, and you're getting some very heavy and intense snow right now. Again, there's some scattered showers. Let's look at what's the situation down in Florida, and you can obviously see some pretty intense batches of storms down there. So definitely a serious situation. Again, for the most part, this storm is traveling in a direction like this. Like I said, not looking like it's going to be affecting the Northeast much, but let's just look at the looping image of this, and you can see that it is moving in this particular direction, but again, it's going to be moving like this. So again, this edge of precip will probably come right in through here. So the heaviest of the precip will probably move something like this. So for the most part, if you live north and west of the I-95 corridor, so in through these areas, don't expect much in the way of anything. I would expect most of the precip to be south of this line, especially once you get in through these areas. You're definitely going to start talking about some pretty heavy rain. Washington, D.C. is in there, southern Jersey, the islands of Cape and the Islands, Long Island, maybe even New York City will get into that. But again, if you live north and west of Boston, north and west of New York City, not much of anything. Alright, so here is our system, and you can see definitely the classic comma shape of a nice low pressure system. Okay, you can even see there's some additional clouds and showers. Then here is our next system that's going to start entering in, but it's not really until we tap into some southern stream energy that we really start talking about some interesting stuff. And again, we still have a little area of lower pressure that is and again, that is also helping to sort of stream in some cooler air, as well as an area of high pressure that we've got. So there's a lot going on today. We have a lot going on. So let's just look at the models. All right. Now, again, as you all know, I am showing what's going on across the good majority of the country, but there will be a few periods where I'm going to actually zoom into the northeast. So here's our storm system, and for the most part, there's those heavy rains that are starting to move into portions of the mid-Atlantic that will again move out and not affect most of us. You can see, for the most part, that misses a lot of us, and you can see that we still have that ridge down in here that's trying to build. Okay, we're getting a nice flow coming in from the southwest. This is keeping these folks pretty nice and warm. All right, now here's our next system that's going to start entering in. These guys up in, if you know anybody who lives into the northwest, well, guess what? They're getting pummeled by continual rains. Let's see here. We don't want that. All right, so again, that's the NAM. We'll look at the surface temperature. And you can see, all right, as you can see, today's temperature is pretty nice. Temperatures 50s to around 60 into some areas. You can see here is the warmth into the midsection of the country. Here is the cooler conditions associated with that low pressure system. You can see some areas even below freezing, which will stay all snow. Again, those are into the higher mountain tops. And again, you start talking about, as we move ourselves onward, you can see the NAM brings in very warm weather coming in here for tomorrow. Possibly some areas getting close to 70 degrees, 65 into a lot of areas. And the areas that seen snow today will be warming way up into the mid to upper 50s to close to around 60. So that's a nice big warm up. So most of that snow will be melting. So yeah. And then, of course, you can see moving onward, you can see still some warm weather, and that snow will be long gone by the weekend. You can see some areas getting close to 80 degrees. So that's some serious warmth. And again, 50 to 60 degrees with even some 60s and 70s into portions of the mid-Atlantic. Moving onward here, you can sort of see that things really warm up on Sunday. You can see these 70s and 80s starting to press up into portions of Jersey. You can see, again, these 60s and 70s working as far north as southern New England. Now, the big player here is really going to be this little front. This little front in here. All right. Will this win out and come further south? I do believe that it's a tricky situation here because, again, you have two different solutions being presented to you here. One keeps this further to the north and keeping this warm flow coming in. Another one brings down this cooler air, okay, in time for a nice approaching system that moves through. And guess what that means? Snow. All right, and this is the perils of forecasting for the Northeast. We'll look at the GFS first. Usually I'll show you the Euro first, but I'll show you the GFS first. Okay, now yesterday, as you obviously all knew, I was very, very headstrong on the GFS, and I was saying this is definitely going to happen. We're definitely going to see a major warm-up. We're definitely going to be talking about warm conditions, all right? Here is that front that we really need to keep our eyes on, all right? What's going to happen with this thing? And as you can see, the GFS goes ahead and keeps this front blocked back, therefore allowing warmer air to continue to ride in through the region, all right? Now, as we work our way onward, you can see that we eventually cool things down, and eventually we get we will be talking about some warmer conditions. All right, but again, in this particular period, Friday evening, next Friday evening, you can see some very heavy precip. Now, this would obviously be all in the form of rain. And again, these folks down here probably dealing with a severe weather situation. These folks into here probably dealing with heavy rain with some thunder. And maybe even these folks in here dealing with a little bit of snow, maybe even some significant snow, all right, according to the GFS, all right. And then, of course, we move onward and things really warm up. I mean, you can really tell that there's a serious ridge that's going to be building in. I mean, this high is deepening, and we are just really getting in a flow, and you can sort of see a building trough back out in the west that sort of amplifies the warmth even more. So, I mean, this flow is serious. I mean, this is almost like a summertime pattern. Notice how we just warm things up drastically. So that's the situation as far as the GFS goes, and we would have to watch this for potential severe weather. And again, we would have to watch out for that. And now the Euro. All right. So at first look, all right, with this upcoming storm for next week, well, here's this storm. All right, you can see it misses New England. Now, here's that colder air. You can see that the colder air impedes into the northeast. This is some significant this really means a lot for people, especially in northern New England, but even into interior sections of southern New England. Okay, away from the I-95 corridor, as you all know. All right, we get some very cold air riding in. This really sets the stage for this system that's forming back out in here. All right, now it's almost etched in stone that these folks up in here are going to get snow. All right, that is really etched in stone. All right, but here is the situation. All right, the Euro keeps this cold air really locked in place. All right, really locked. Now, normally most people will be looking at the track of this low pressure and saying, Steven, this is not going to do anything as far as snowfall goes. But what's going on here is you're still getting cold air coming into the system here. All right, it's coming in, it's streaming down into the northeast. These folks down in here definitely talking about a severe weather event. All right, now we move along through. All right, and notice how the storm now it goes coastal. All right, so folks now on the northwestern quadrant of the storm are talking about some cold air running into this system. That is some serious business. All right. Now these folks down in here would definitely be all rain, and it's almost 100% etched in stone that coastal sections will be all rain. It's areas away from the I-95 corridor that, I mean, if the Euro is right, and am I totally agreeing with upon the Euro? No. But the problem here is that the Euro is kind of being a little bit on the consistent side here, which is a major problem. All right, but also the GFSs as well. All right, that is the major concern, and that is the reason why this forecast is not, it's not etched. All right, so this is now the time when I'm going to go into the northeast, and where I'm going to show you the actual snowfall that is being outputted by the Euro. Now, again, all right, remember, this will most likely not be a 10-to-1 snow ratio storm, but it gives you an idea of who will be seeing snow. Okay, now, these folks down in here, I think you can almost guarantee your your hard-earned money, you are not going to be seeing any snow. I can guarantee it. All right. So if you live in New York City, New Jersey, if you live in coastal sections of New England, definitely not. Even Boston, I think it might be a little bit on the high end. But like I said, once you get north and west of I-95, that's when it starts getting a little tricky, particularly like particularly, interior New England and northeast PA. Do I think this would reach farther to the north? I actually do. Notice this intense snow back out in here as well, this over 18 inches of snow that could be falling. If this is true, all right, and we do have colder air that is going to be surging down as this storm comes in, we'll be talking about some serious problems. This would be a problem like what we had with the October snowstorm. Why is that? Well, we're talking about a time of the year where snow is going to be obviously so wet it's not going to be even funny. All right, even maybe even 3 inches of snow would cause some serious significant damage, just like what happened with that October snowstorm. So it's really got to be watched extremely closely because, as you saw, the GFS and the Euro are painting two totally different pitches. All right, it's really different. And it could mean the difference between you having to take out the snow blower and take out the shovel, or you having to possibly worry about maybe your car getting dinged up with hail. So it's two serious different solutions that are really total opposite extremes of each other. All right, now that's the Euro. All right, and I also want to show you surface temperature. Now, normally when you look at surface temperature, you want to look at temperatures well below freezing, and that's obviously what you want to look for. But in a situation like what we're going to be dealing with here, especially on those northwestern quadrants of the storm, like what happened with the October snowstorm, and it was very serious what happened with the October snowstorm. There was absolute serious dynamic cooling with that. All right, so you can see the snow starts approaching these areas by about Friday morning. All right, you can sort of see that it comes in Friday morning and really ramps itself up Friday evening and Friday evening into early Saturday morning. So temperatures within that time frame are going to be obviously very important, and you can see the temperatures basically from through the whole entire storm. I mean, they're not going to be that warm. I mean, at best 40 degrees, and there has been snow reported many a times. And actually, during the October snowstorm, what were the highs during the daytime with that? And obviously, a lot of it didn't come during the evening or during the day. But what were the highs during that particular period? The highs that day were only into the upper 30s. So they were in the upper 30s, and there was some snow coming down. Obviously, it started off as a little bit of rain and snow, but notice how we get this huge batch of precip, and that's when things really start to get ramped up. And notice how we have a lot of areas dealing with temperatures at least 35 degrees, if not cooler. So this is a serious situation. Now notice how down here we have temperatures almost near 60. This gradient is going to cause serious convection, and we would be dealing with any of the areas that would be dealing with the snow. We would be dealing with very high rates for snowfall. This would cause dynamic cooling. If this were to verify, we would get cooler air draining in, all right, and there would be some dynamic cooling with the very heavy rates, all right, because let me just show you. All right, these folks are on the northwestern side of the storm. They're not on the northeastern side. They're on the northern and northwestern side of the storm. The northwestern side of the storm is the part of the storm that is the coldest and has the highest favorability for serious dynamic cooling. All right, so if this, again, am I saying that there's going to be a major snowstorm? No. But it's something that we would have to watch out for, and what the Euro is putting out there isn't necessarily a bunch of garbage, all right? And what the GFS is putting out there, though, is also not a bunch of garbage. Both are very plausible potentials, and both need to be taken very seriously, because severe weather is definitely not something you want to play around with, nor is a major snowstorm something you want to play around with. So either way, we're going to be dealing with some form of precip here in the Northeast, but whether that's in the form of snow or in the form of rain, especially for interior New England, Northeast PA, and central sections, eastern sections, and northern sections of New York, northern New England, definitely need to keep an eye on this particular situation, as it could come out to be something very interesting. Because, and this is going to be one of those things where, if this were to actually happen, we would be in the 70s earlier on in the week, and then a snowstorm in that same week. This is one of those serious, like, crazy scenarios that are put out from time to time. But again, it's happened before, and it doesn't mean that it can't happen again. So this time, yesterday when I first saw it, I was totally against it. Today, now that it's being shown yet again, definitely want to kind of keep an eye on it, and definitely want to sort of, and just for jokes and fun, let's just look at what the Euro this morning was showing, from the 0Z run. And again, you can see, this is Thursday. Here's when I believe this is the storm. Didn't show anything really significant. It showed mainly rain showers, maybe a few rumbles of thunder. Let me just check out the snowfalls. See if there was any snowfall predictions. Some snow coming in, and yeah, it did even show snow there. So not as much as this run, but it still showed at least 2 to 4, maybe up to 6, 8, 9 inches of snow. So, and it was in the same areas that are still being indicated as a potential snowstorm. So I'm telling you, folks, we may be dealing with something here, as far as snow or severe weather. We'll have to watch it. But again, like I said, if you live along the I-95 corridor down into central Jersey, absolutely not. That is obviously going to be all rain, but it's areas who are on the northwestern sections of this storm, so the areas that I circled, are in the highest favorability if the Euro is right for a potential major snowstorm. So that's what it looks like right now. Things will update through the week. There's a lot to look at. It's a very high stakes forecast. I mean, you can bust with saying that there's going to be a severe weather outbreak or severe thunderstorms, and you can bust saying that there's going to be a major snowstorm. Got to keep both options open right now, and just stay tuned for more updates, obviously, tomorrow and through the weekend. Folks, have a great rest of the day, great rest of your Thursday, and I'll be back tomorrow with another update. Take care, everyone.